Hi there, I want to talk about refretting, actually installing stainless steel frets. Those are all ready to go. These are the ones I pulled out. This is the fingerboard. After I pulled them out, I did not use heat, such as a soldering iron, to heat up the fret, like you see a lot on YouTube these days. Everybody's using a soldering iron. I don't understand why. Because when you touch it with the soldering iron, it gets hot. You can actually char or burn the wood a little bit if it gets too hot. And then once you remove the soldering iron and touch it with your puller, fret puller, whatever you use, it's a big heat sink, and the heat comes out of the fret pretty quickly. Because the fret is so small, it doesn't have a lot of material to hold a lot of the heat, so the fret cools off very quickly. So I just find it redundant to heat the fret because it's cooling very quickly. By the time you put your tool in here, and by the time you get down to here, it's cooled right off, because you can't go that quickly. You have to go very slowly, because particularly rosewood loves to sliver. And if you go very quickly, the little, those bumps, the beads on the tang is the part that goes into the wood, those beads love to lift up grain, the wood grain. Which is another story, is that if you do lift a piece of grain, you want to do it very slowly so that the piece may not completely come off, but might just lift up. And then what I do is I take a needle and put a little bit of wood glue on the tip of the needle, and I'll push it into the piece, under the piece that has lifted up, and then I push it down. There's nothing wrong with that. Rosewood by nature loves to sliver. Maple comes off in little tiny chunks, and ebony comes off in little tiny chunks. So rosewood's actually better because the slivers will stay attached to the wood, and you just push them back down. Now this fingerboard is full of scratches. This is an older guitar, probably from the 70s. Let's see. There's a pretty good dent. That's from doing fret work without protecting the fingerboard. Probably a tool, rounding out tool. Probably just dug in. There's, where is it? Come on. Right here. There it is. There's another one. And here's another one. And just lots of random scratches going perpendicular to the fingerboard, which is sanding, buffing the frets out without any fingerboard protection, which I completely protect the fingerboard. I will plane this fingerboard, which means just, kind of sand it in this direction very lightly, because it's not beneficial to plane them down a lot. You can wear down the edge of the markers. Depending upon how deep the fret marker hole is, dictates how much fret marker is on the ends, the depth of it. You may find that the ends are very thin because the hole is very shallow. Because the fingerboard is radiused, it makes the ends not deep in the hole. So you do not want to break through or wear down the edge of the fret marker, so you do not sand the fingerboard a lot. And you do not sand the fingerboard a lot because the strength of a truss rod is dictated by the fingerboard thickness. If you have a very thin fingerboard, the fingerboard may have ripples in it when it's tuned up. A good fingerboard just gives you one long gradual curve, but a very thin fingerboard will allow the strings to pull the neck and ripple it because the fingerboard is thin. The truss rod pushes on the fingerboard. This guitar had that, where they put the frets in, then they put the binding on, and then they trim the binding. There's no way in the world you can get a fret to go back in there. Well, I suppose there is, but it would take forever. You got to be really careful, and the binding shrinks and it moves a little bit, and it's just, trust me, it doesn't work. So you have to sand this down. So that will be leveled out, and then the new frets will extend beyond the fingerboard, and they will be cut flush and sanded flush to the edge of the fingerboard. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Have a nice day.